and we're going to talk about it again. We're going to get into it a little bit. The South owes DC some more thanks.
Oh shit!
Given that documentary that everybody's parents are in.
Yo,
yeah.
I think I saw Diallo in that joint. I'm pretty sure.
I thought I saw Diallo down
the high
there.
top, right? He had a high top.
I did have a high top.
Yeah.
I think I saw Diallo in there.
Nah, I was on some righteous bullshit back then. I was too righteous.
Nah.
That era completely missed me because I thought I was on some old righteous.
Man, we had some black.
You were on righteous. I was on too corny. I was. By the time I aged into understanding what was possible, I wasn't cool enough. Nobody I was running with wanted to be down there.
Which one? Y'all talking about the 80s one or the 90s? Because I didn't know about the 80 ones. The 80s was
the 80s ones I was too young for.
I was too young for the 80s ones. And I had homeboys hollering at me. My older brothers, they were like, let's roll, man, let's go. They would pile up in hoopties. And
that's what they said, yeah.
They would pile up in hoopties and head south. That's back when those fold up maps you could never get folded back right.
Yep.
Remember?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Dudes were sitting at the printer printing out MapQuest.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that was the come up.
Pages.
That was the come up because those original maps, like you're talking about, were just a mess.
Yeah. I used to go to sleep in a car and you wake up and your homeboy got the map splayed across the steering wheel. And you're like, yo, I'll go to sleep, dog. You good? So
famous last words.
That was my era. But I was like, no, my ancestors will not allow me to participate.
Maybe we should even start there because now I'm looking at Black Bikers Week started in the 80s too, in Myrtle Beach and Atlantic Beach. And I don't know if FreakNik was the first one.
And Dick Gregory shamed me.
Why? What did he do?
Well, you have to remember, back in that same era, there was a lot of talk about passing the baton, and a lot of the icons of the civil rights movements were still with us in the 80s and 90s, and we were like, well, they need to pass us the baton. They need to allow us to step up and take leadership. These old civil rights leaders need to step aside and let the new generation come through, stomp into the 90s. And Dick Gregory was like, what the hell are you talking about passing the baton? And y'all young folks, I was young folks back then. Y'all young folks complaining that we don't give y'all the baton. We're not giving y'all room to talk. We're not let's stepping aside for y'all. He said, y'all didn't need a baton to start FreakNik. You know? He's like, y'all young folks don't need a baton to do nothing y'all want to do. Y'all don't wait for us. Y'all don't complain about us being in your way. If you want to do something, you do it. So just like y'all started FreakNik and didn't need permission and didn't need a baton, as far as the revolution or civil rights, just step up and do it and shut up about a baton.
Well, technically he was a little bit off because the 80s group did pass the baton to the FreakNik because remember they said bring out the freak out. The old people who started the picnic, freak out picnic to now just the freaky. So technically they passed the baton, but they didn't describe
it as a baton pass. They described it as a takeover. They said the way the documentary described it, the way I took it when I saw it.
I skimmed through it. I did. He took it last
night. And let me tell y'all something else. I'm not the biggest fan of the South, Mason-Dixon.
Oh, man.
Wait.
I forgot about Black Beach Week.
That's what I just said. Well, Black Bikers and Black Beach. Are you talking about in Miami? Black Beach?
New York.
Oh, that dirty ass beach. Yeah, I remember that dirty ass beach.
Yeah, Coney Island, Jones Beach.
No, that's the dirtiest beach in the world.
All over.
What's the Far Rockaway? Far Rockaway. I had
Hamptons.
Oh yeah.
I never made it to the Hamptons, but I made it to Far Rockaway.
And was out there before Diddy went out there and made it uncomfortable.
Diddy ruined everything.
Diddy did it. What did Diddy do? Diddy did it.
Diddy did it.
You got a little snapshot of the documentary. Something you could put a link. Because kind of show what we're talking about. But so I was trying to figure out what the hell they was doing when they started out with 21 Savage talking about, you know, the world was more pure back then. So I don't know if he was talking about it, or it sounded like he was talking about when there was the FreakNik, and then I guess the Olympics took that away from them. But
yeah, so
I don't know what
yeah.
he was trying to do with 21 Savage and the young rappers, and then
Well, to me, it was just I thought they were trying to start with the young as a hook to bring people in, so it wasn't just here's the old people talking. But that's at least the way I understood it, because then they went from him and them to sort of the flashback to the old heads talking about how it got put together. So yeah. In fact, let's what if we did it this way? Nah, that ruins it. Hold on. My bad. So dang, I'm doing what was done yesterday. How do we get back to the joint?
There.
That's the show there. Yeah,
Man.
that's the show there. There it is right there, right?
There it is. That's all we need.
Yeah,
So-
there it is. How do you
so
get
I-
it back to the there we go.
come on, so y'all claiming y'all never been there?
I never went. I never went. I was
I
either
never had
the wrong.
the slightest interest.
Yeah.
or
Okay,
the
so-
slightest-
so
Oh, I
what-
can't. Now that's
so
not
what
true.
did y'all go to?
Hold on. Well, I didn't go to anything. I was never.
CIAA?
I was
CIAA?
no.
Damn.
The only thing I went to, I didn't really start doing anything until I wouldn't count really anything until I was already in the Navy. So, and for me, it was the sort of the well, I got to Virginia Beach the year after the race riots of 89 rather. And so it would be like the very black end or black section of Virginia Beach, at least initially for me. That was as close to a FreakNik version that I got in terms of cars, the tailgating, the salaciousness, that kind of stuff. That was as close as I ever got. Now I did go to with I was hanging out in high school. I was the closest I got was hanging out with Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh at Beach Week in Ocean City, Maryland, which is that's the white version of FreakNik.
Mhm.
And to the point they made in the documentary, not that I would condone the behavior that was being, that was taking place at FreakNik per se, but the policing that they got clearly was not taking place in Ocean City, Maryland. So, and by the way, I'm just so the censors and whoever, it's just a joke. Kavanaugh said that he was at Beach Week. We are roughly the same age. I do believe I was at some of the Beach Weeks while he was there, but I do not pretend to know him or have any evidence that he did anything he was allegedly accused of.
That's
So
how you clean that shit up right there.
Yeah, I clean that up right there. I don't want the confusion. But anyway, that's as close as I got to that.
They're gonna find a picture of Christopher Williams and Kavanaugh.
Right, exactly. So when now to the point that Diallo was making and what was made in the documentary, I did hear about older brothers going. I did see people that were cooler than me planning to go. For instance, when we were in the Navy, folks would go. But I was never cool enough to be invited. But I did have an interest in it. I was curious. I heard a lot of stories, and it seems that what I heard is what went on. So,
Yeah,
but I do have some notes though. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you all have anything in particular you wanted to get to from it, but yeah, go ahead. My bad.
I got a couple notes. So I don't think I went to. I'm pretty sure I didn't ever go to FreakNik. I was definitely too young. Black Bikers Week.
Yeah, I was about to say you too young.
But Black Bikers Week was damn near like FreakNik to me. I mean, in Atlantic Beach, both of them was wild in Myrtle Beach. The CIAA been there a couple times, and I can't think of any other. So that's the HBCU that was in Charlotte, but not in Baltimore. Every tournament that they have for all the HBCU basketball teams, And they used to, the celebrities used to take over Charlotte, and they used to always complain how the celebrities come and have all the parties and none of the money stay in Charlotte, although the hotels and the, clubs get a lot of money. But then
That
black
became an issue
bike,
in Atlanta. Yeah.
yeah, but Black Bikers Week literally was like FreakNik. So the same stuff, because I used to see FreakNik via BET Uncut. So I was seeing what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
So and Black Bikers Week was exactly like that with motorcycles and more of a strip. But yeah, that's what I remember. But I mean, there's a lot of wild shit in there, like including your boy. I don't know if we got a clip of that, but every time that guy get on the mic, when it comes to sex and capitalism, he always talking about revolution. Black people went down to have fun and fuck around and found a revolution, is what he said. Killer Mike.
Well, and yeah, Killer Mike, of course, was in there, and Uncle Luke was in there. He said something similar.
Yeah, Uncle Luke.
That he said it was kind of a revolution, and yeah, exactly. But my big takeaway, by the way, speaking of that, my first note is because CeeLo has said the line, "Big bank take little bank." FreakNik, the documentary, to me, is another example of the myth of buying power, Black capitalism, the lack of political power, and because the point being that what's good for business is not good for Black people. If we just table temporarily any criticism of FreakNik itself or the ultimate behavior itself, which we can come back to. In other words, my point being, that isn't necessarily, I do feel a little bit of that what is it, respectability politics. Like, that's not necessarily the gathering I want us to go to war to defend. But I do want to point out that anywhere Black people go, whatever the context, it is always going to be antithetical and in disinterest to those in power, Black, white, or other. And when it comes to changing it, all that is required is the political power and the influx of white capital. And they said very quickly, it went from, what was it, 2 million or whatever, from Black people coming to FreakNik to 2 billion or something, or 15 million to 2 billion for the Olympics in '96, which they say was the sort of the culminating catalyst for the demise of FreakNik. Even before they got into anything about the criticism of the behavior, the misogyny, the R wording, the assaults, and all of that kind of stuff, the real issue was Atlanta's Black bourgeoisie and its white elite overlords said, "Nah, we get in the Olympics in '96, and it's time to clean up all this nonsense." And that's basically what happened. And that's what happens in all of Black business, all Black buying power arguments. It is wildly limited to and specific to the condition of a poor, oppressed, colonized community. And whenever folks in power want to make changes, whether it's gentrification, whether it's Olympics switching out FreakNik, they can come in and do it. So I'll stop there, but but that was my initial takeaway.
I wonder what y'all think. So the initial crew who said they were from Baltimore, DC,
DMV,
right?
Yep, DC.
They're from the DMV, and they was down there at all of the Mecca Black schools, and they were trying to organize school breaks. And it started out as a picnic, as I said, like bring out the freak out type freak, not freaky freak.
Right.
And so
it was a Black bourgeoisie affair. It was DC, that was a Howard University, Black bourgeoisie,
and
Black
they was probably
college.
playing, they was probably in the pocket too. They was probably playing that music.
Oh, no question.
Right.
No question.
So but what do y'all think about the argument of again having fun and limiting, not limiting, but I guess trying to control what is to be fun and what is not? Like, when y'all think about the overall image of the event.
I did want to say one more thing about the DC thing, real quick, now that you mention it. One note that I did make was that I didn't follow through. I meant to look into the actual production, because while they mentioned starting in DC and interview that founding group, the musical selection was Chuck Brown's Bustin' Loose, or really the Soul Searchers' Bustin' Loose. And that made me think, because you asked about the pocket, that made me think, okay, they're acknowledging DC, but the production crew is not DC. Because if the production crew was DC, it wouldn't have been Bustin' Loose. It would have been one of Chuck's staples from his go-go era as the godfather of go-go. That, I think, would have been more likely. Bustin' Loose is a major hit, no question, great song. But I think that would have been more what would have been in those cars on the way down there. That pocket, not Bustin' Loose per se. That was just a thought I had. But okay, sorry about that. Go ahead, fellas.
What you think, Diallo? Any arguments around what is fun, rather the first FreakNik or the later FreakNik? Any of those things you have, I guess, behaviorally, any gripe against?
I think it's tragic. At that exact same time, there was also a burgeoning Black conscious movement at that exact same time that is overshadowed or forgotten. In the 90s, and Dale Jones said that the youth resurrected Malcolm in that era, and that's overshadowed. Like I said, I was on some old righteous nonsense back then, and they had Odun Day. They had the African Arts Festival, Jazz Mobile, Harlem Week, throughout the country. That was the height of the Black Books movement. And so during that same era, what annoys me is when people try to associate, we're resisting. They can't tell us what to do, and misunderstanding what respectability politics really is, and misinterpreting, things like FreakNik or even today Sexy Red as resistance or expression or empowerment. That's all bullshit. What it is, what was going on quite a bit then, where you had resistance or revolutionary aesthetic, completely absence of revolutionary or resistance ideology. And so just acting out or lashing out, what I call, there's a big difference between organizing resistance and throwing a tantrum. And so, or what I call political tantrum. So even though I understand the outlet and all that, I think that for us to inject pretending that this was somehow resistance, revolutionary, radical, or even counterculture, that FreakNik aligns with and resonates with Western culture, with capitalism, and all the values we're supposed to be resisting. It's
That's
just
right.
like that bullshit when they tried to rewrite the history of NWA with that bullshit NWA movie and act like NWA was a dangerous group. And F the Police was the most radical, dangerous song out there when there were dozens of anti-police songs. And out of the 3 verses on the song, they literally are like, the police are getting in my way, because I want to kill niggas, because I kick ass, because I'll stomp you out, I'll smother your mother and make your sister think I love her. And they are literally they're not lashing out at the police for police assaulting our people. They're not lashing out at the police because they want to resist and secure liberation. They're lashing out at the police because the police are obstructing their criminal intention or their criminal behavior. It's E with the criminal behavior. Yeah, I'm a gangster, but still I got flavor. So there was dueling and a strongly conflict in the early 90s. When, we are bastards of the parties. We are the offspring of COINTELPRO. And at the beginning, this was nothing but a extension of the Blaxploitation era. And Blaxploitation, where they had Black folks with afros and leather jackets, and Black folks that would tell the honky like it is, and tell the man like it is. Like I said, they had all the Black power, Black radical aesthetics with none of the ideology, none of the scholarship, and none of the agendas of Black power or Black liberation, just the aesthetic. It was all surface.
Well,
so
speaking,
I don't mind us revisiting those eras, but I don't like the fact that we rewrite the intention, the history, and the impact of that era. And we ignore, because there was a whole era. There was a extremely rich Black conscious movement, Black scholarship movement, and a lot of people who resisted, mocked, and demeaned it, and talk shit, because I remember going to Boys and Girls High School and just saw oceans of beautiful African people. and just I never seen anything like it in my life. And in 92 and in 93, out and going to the inner and going up to Harlem Week and Jazzmobile and going to Marcus Garvey Park for the events, going to the Nyabingi drum circles and the Haitian drum circles and the Akan rituals and Ashanti and Yoruba festivals. There, that all was going on, and all they wanted to, at the same time, just like there was all this conscious revolutionary hip hop, there were communist rap groups in the early 90s, and everybody think it was NWA and Ghetto Boys all the time everywhere. So
right,
there's a reason. I'm just saying we should tell the whole story, and we should tell the honest story. That's all I'm saying. I ain't saying we should delete anything, but the fact that this as my because one thing I always think when that era come up, my older brother, you know, and I can't say his name because, you know, he's a righteous Muslim now, and he come back from FreakNik, or they even go up to Iowa. That shit was everywhere for homecoming. Those those, what was it? I forgot, some big time homecoming. Howard's homecoming.
Oh, Howard, definitely, yeah. But you said Iowa.
Iowa, yes, going up to Iowa, Oklahoma. Yeah, it wasn't just the coast. It wasn't.
So I don't know who.
But when he would come back, I'm like, so how was it? He'd say all the time, that was some monkey fuck shit, and he'd be mad because he's hungover. His car done got dinged up because he had a laid out ride. His car was dinged up. He was hungover. He done blew through all his money. Probably didn't have rent money, and he always come back with full of regret. So that's why he was like, man, that was some monkey fuck shit. And I'm like, so why do you go every year?
Hey, I don't know who
Howard's
made the
homecoming. Howard's homecoming. I have no regrets. Hampton's, no regrets.
Hampton, yeah, all that shit.
I have no regrets. So I just want to give some shout out that some fun was had. Sorry.
So speaking of fun,
I had a ball. But
speaking of fun, like, what about the political utility of this film? So there's a couple things that was obvious. So Andrew Young was in there, and Kasim Reed, Killer Mike's two daddies or parents or whatever.
But not much from Andy though.
Well, I mean, he was enough. Him and Kasim was enough to.
Kasim was all up in there.
But there was enough to say that Atlanta had where black people had political power versus white people having economic power. And when you can come to Atlanta, you can see a bunch of black police and all this other stuff. And so I think they was very intentional about dropping those things to where black political power, Atlanta, FreakNik fun versus whatever else. And
right. And then the shift seemed to be white folks in the Olympics, racists from the surrounding Georgia area, and then black debauchery. That was what combined for the collapse of this wonderful thing. But to your point, and I think you're right, Kasim Reed, who I saw a lot of. I don't remember too much of Andy in there, with little. And I actually thought Killer Mike's comments seemed stifled, because I feel like, I'm probably projecting here, but I feel like he and Kasim and others and even maybe some of the producers were really struggling to make it seem like black elected officials was in fact political power, and black business being there was this great thing, and it provided this. Like they literally said police look like you. They called it Wakanda. They said they didn't say misleadership. It was the beauty of black leadership. It was the beauty of HBCUs. It was they said we had Jesse Jackson and Angela Davis coming to speak. They said Spike Lee's movies in A Different World. They mentioned that again. Shout out to my Different World project. Please check out mixwhatilike.org if you would like to participate. But the whole point being, HBCUs, black elected officials, black business create this beautiful Wakanda utopia, and then they leave out the important nuances and details of those transitions. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I actually didn't. I don't. I've watched a lot of Different World, and I don't remember the episode when they was talking about going to FreakNik. Oh, you can't tell your parents that it's FreakNik. Just tell them it's a gathering. So I mean,
I don't remember the episode, but I'm not surprised that they did that. Yeah.
And then CBS's and Ricky's homeboy was on there legitimizing the whole film. Mark Lamont Hill. I mean, I don't like he's called out, right? He seemed like he's called out to intellectualize some type of thing and or make it credible, or like so he's like as a political expert, historian, and again intellectualizer of documentaries, and he was definitely there in his little suit and tie having a serious conversation around
He
FreakNik.
was pundit. He was doing his punditry thing. He was added the and so was what's his name from the Fab Five, Stephen A. Smith. They said took his girl. That's messed
Wait,
up.
Steven took Jalen Rose's girl? When?
That's just always one of the rumors that they say led to that was that I don't know. This is just one of those YouTube rumors.
He's with Angela Rye now, I think, right?
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Jalen Rose, yeah, but Jalen Rose, but when he was with Molly Karam on ESPN, it doesn't matter. The point is he was on there. But yeah, Mark.
No, nothing like that. But me and my brother was arguing about Chris Webber being talented in the NBA, and I was like, he was a bust. Would you agree?
That Chris Webber was a bust?
Yeah, like
no, I wouldn't say he was a bust. You could say he didn't. I would say he didn't live up. You could say he didn't live up to the hype, or what he didn't have the career somebody thought he was going to have. But I wouldn't call him a bust. I mean, and if it wasn't for that rigged, if it wasn't for that rigged ref, that ref who later copped to it, that he was rigging games, they should have beat Kobe and Shaq and moved on to the championship. So he wasn't a bust. He wasn't a bust. And he was even nice when he played in DC. I think he just played on a bad franchise. So I wouldn't, he had a couple injuries, I wouldn't call him a bust.
Okay.
And one of my ex's homegirls, he was her target when he was in DC. She was one of those, I don't know what they're called, but the women who target NBA players for life-changing experiences, and she was working on him apparently. That's my 6 degrees of separation to him.
That's why his jump shot was whack. All right, no, so
maybe
any other before we get to the segment Q&A, any other thoughts on the FreakNik?
Yeah, just let me oh no, actually I did get right. They actually made the point. I made the note here that it said, quote, a different world boosted Black college attendance by putting a positive light on Black college experience. That's exactly why I started doing that project. And shout out to Professor Jones's new book on the Pan-African College. I gotta get you all a copy. I think we should do a EYL on that. And by the way, I messed this up, but Ebony and Louise, the co-authors of that new book, that forthcoming book on economic inequality, they're talking about maybe coming next week. They were supposed to be on last week, but I messed that up. If you remember, but because they had gone on Earn Your Leisure, and then we were going to try to get them to come here, and I messed up the communication. So but. You don't look like you remember what I'm talking about, but that's all right.
No, because I was thrown off because it was somebody said something in the chat that made me think about. So the U.S., there's certain places where I guess the relax or freedom of sex workers, and like in other countries is it's a thing. And I wonder what was that thought about, like FreakNiks and events like that, where this could be a time where sex workers are I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it, but any part of your analysis or thought around the sex workers during those times? Because like the event was about this certain thing, and I wonder if there was any kind of thoughts around your idea of sex work and in these type of events. Does that make sense? Or like it's not like a direct question, but more so broadly thinking about how do we include talking about like sex workers and those type of events?
At what at a FreakNik?
Like FreakNiks and black bikers and all these other events. which could be nothing. I mean, I think people.
I don't know. I think not to start it early, but the Q&A early. But I think I'm with A-Rob on this one. I'm not sure I get the. I'm not sure.
I mean, again, I know like Black Bikers Week and other events. There are sex workers there.
One, the P was free. The girl is all free.
Yeah, well, maybe we shouldn't have a conversation. Anyway, I saw it in the chat and I thought about it, but I dropped it off. But
my only, just broadly on that subject, my one quick thought is that I don't think sex workers should be demeaned, but I would like to see a world where that wasn't seen. I still feel like it is that work is encouraged by the wild inequality that we see in this world. So I would like to see a situation where that wasn't seen as necessary or an option, even as I think those who go into that profession should not be demeaned at all. In fact, if anything, it should be legalized and unionized just like everything else, if it's going to be an industry, as clearly.
Okay. Got it.
So,
Diallo,
but I don't know what the connection is. I'm not clear on the connection.
Well, I mean, I think one, I thought about it, but then also obviously somebody said in the chat, but I know that even like there's spaces where they are actually police, but it's almost like a giving. They allow it for, in some type of capacity in certain places, but I just wonder if it was.
That seems like to be the case just in general. It seems, I mean, but yeah.
So, Miss Gladney, peace, new member. I thought she was already a member, but what up to you?
Sometimes, I don't know, sometimes people come and go, or it resets sometimes. I see people say that sometimes it resets for them. I'm not sure what it is, but either way, welcome back.
All right, Supreme More Omakundi. What up? Appreciate you.
Welcome. Thank you.
$2 on the air doctor? Could have sworn I saw the air doctor. But Jared looked like the air doctor?
I was looking.
Diallo said, yeah.
They spend too much time. You start to spend a lot of time around somebody.
You can't spend like the air doctor, though. Air doctor got a little mix.
I was looking.
Peace for the 2020s. 2020.
I did see somebody. I will say this. There was a scene where there was somebody getting a lap dance in the street that at first glance, I thought looked like me. And for a second, I was like, was I there? I was like, no. Just the build and a little bit with the complexion. I said, I was just for a quick second, I was like, nah, I wasn't there.
You took one of them long rides down there.
Nah. Alicia, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. DC Joe Black. DC started.
Yeah, I put that one. DC, I co-signed me on that point about Chuck Brown. That so I appreciate that. That if a production member had really been from the area, they would have had a different track in there. It wouldn't have been Bustin' Loose. Mm-hmm. No disrespect to Bustin' Loose, but I just don't think that would have been. It would have been something else. Hoochie Coochie Man or something. I don't know.
Zinzi Bell. So way too many conscious people back in the days were completely devoid of fun and enjoyment of anything.
Oh shit.
You had some fun? You said you was too pure to go down there, so maybe you didn't have fun. What kind of fun the conscious people was having? What kind of fun y'all was having in the conscious community?
I think that's a myth, and also fun is relative.
It is.
That's a fact. Fun is relative. That was before, back in that era. A lot of people, fun is defined for them. Whatever the television or whatever, like you said, these influential TV shows have their whole life oriented around it. So fun is an extremely relative thing. How do you define what fun is for someone else?
Yeah.
How do you define what good music is for somebody else? So I think a lot of conscious Black people were trying to seek out alternatives to mainstream outlets and mainstream fun, or just, trying to find or engage other aspects of themselves and stimulating one's intellect to cultivating the soil. There's a lot of things people get off on. You know, it ain't even about fun. It's about getting off. And what people get off on is a very wide range. And anybody that doesn't get off on the shit that's not on a fucking Super Bowl commercial or shit that's defined as fun by the mainstream or corporate media, if you ain't doing that, if you ain't wearing those clothes, if you ain't engaged in those activities, if you ain't flashing those dollars and shit, how can you be having fun? So I think a lot of conscious people were able to stimulate themselves, build communities, and engage in shit that gets them off or things that they're into. And because they are alien to the masses or alien to the mainstream, then how could it be fun? How could you define that as fun? You know, how can sitting around a drum circle, you know, with the Rastas, how could that be fun? You know, if you ain't, you know, busting it open and standing on top of a Mercedes, how could it be fun? That shit don't look fun. That shit looks miserable. A lot of things that people called fun back then and now, that shit looks miserable. I would pay not to do a lot of things that people are paying to do. I would pay not to go sit in a goddamn stadium and watch some ball chasing. I would pay to not do that shit. And people be paying 7 figures, 6 figures for season tickets and ground and they floor seats and shit. So fun is relative.
Man, I also think maybe that there's this like projection. So if you're somebody who is talking about serious shit, whether you online or in person, and then you get around people in a private setting, they be like, "Oh, you way funner than I thought." Like everybody who talking in a certain type of way.
That was always the myth. I would always, y'all don't know how to kick it. Y'all don't know how to have fun. And all they're saying is you're not engaging in activities that are demonstrated to me by the mass media as to what you should be doing when it's time. It's Miller time. You know, they literally tell you when to drink, when okay, we supposed to be listening to this music, wearing these sneakers at this in this town at this date. You know, everything you do is curated by forces beyond yourself. So no, I'll fucking roam and I go to the duck pond and throw sunflower seeds to ducklings, saplings, and I have more fun than all of y'all busting it open on top of a bins.
Busting it open. Wait.